Alright, hello. Um, I want to go through this little sort of chart I've made here and explain some things about um, some connections with the dollar bill, Donald Trump, and the eclipses that we've seen across America the last several years, okay? I was kind of watching Steve Fletcher, and he'd mentioned something about the 4/8 eclipse and the number 270, okay? And so I kind of got to thinking, oh, I wonder if there's any other connections with the. Well, actually, I think I already knew that this other eclipse, the 821 eclipse, had occurred. There was some 2700s around here now as well with that eclipse. I'm sure I looked at it before. I don't know. Anyway, don't matter. I want to explain what's going on here and why this is so blooming interesting. Okay. So the first thing I've got right here at the top is I've got eclipse dates here. Okay, so I've got the one we just had this last year, the 8th of April. Then I've got the this is kind of the first one we had with the 8/21 2017 date, and then I've got this other little one that we had as well, the 14th of October 23. Okay, and I think if I recall correctly, I don't know actually, the 8/21 kind of came across like this, and then the 10/14 one kind of came down like that, and then this other one came up like this, something like that across the country. It was something like that anyway. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, I've got all three of them in. Okay, and what this is days from that event, and that event. Okay, so let's start off with the green first, because I thought this was interesting. This is the date down the side here. This is January the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, all the way down. And of course, this is the end of the year, the previous year here. So this is the 31st of December 2024. Okay. Look at our switchover point here being 444. This is kind of interesting, okay, because the 4-4, if you're a watcher of the channel, this is like in the middle of the Queen's Cross chart, okay, the 44ers, okay, and also 4/8 is very close to the center of that thing as well, okay, so this is very interesting already. But I tell you what's more interesting is the fact that the numerology of 27 shows up here, okay, with 270 days from this date here, gives us the 3rd of January. Okay, so this is interesting because why it's interesting is because if we come down with the 8/21 eclipse, 2700 days from that particular date happens to land on the 11th. Okay, so we have the same numerology between these two dates here. Yeah, just a straight 27. Okay, so what is fascinating about that is if we look at the what do I just do that? Yeah, okay. If we look at the midpoint between these two dates, notice where it falls, right here. Okay, this light grey box. Okay, so this is the day that we had Donald Trump talking about the Gulf. Okay, which I was equating to golf because if we look at the numerology for this date, 1/7, on the 107th day of the year, he was on the golf course getting shot at, supposedly, or whatever. I don't know if he got shot at or did he get shot at? I don't know. Anyway, the guy was at the golf course with the gun ready, or outside the golf course ready to have another 57 event with Donald Trump. Okay, a catch-up event. So this was interesting because this happened to be in the dollar bill. This numerology is in the dollar bill. If you've watched the last few videos, you'll have seen the fold. I'm not going to do it again in this video, but on one side of the dollar bill, we've got Donald Trump's ear wound, and then on the other side of the dollar bill, we have, this 7-1 numerology. And so it was interesting that he mentioned about golf, with relating back to the Gulf of Mexico here, on 7-1, okay, relating back to his golf course incident, okay. And what connected these two things is that the line that connected these two events in the dollar bill, the fold line that connects these two events, happens to go through Washington's ear and his two eyes, okay, in the middle of the dollar bill. Okay, this is Washington's head here. Okay, that's Washington's head, and there's the rest of his body on it. It doesn't look like a very good head, but anyway, the fascinating thing again with this, I was just mentioning this to Sandra in the comments, is that in Donnie Darko, right before, well, kind of while the event's going on with the plane falling out of the sky, well, not the plane, but the engine falling into his bedroom, is he's on the golf course. Kind of when he wakes up in the morning, he's on the golf course, and he walks back home, and the engine has fell into his bedroom sometime prior to him getting back home, maybe while he was on the golf course. Okay, so this is well interesting, and also Frank gets shot in this eye here as well, which is awful close to, well, it's on the line as well, and it's awful close to that ear. So the bunny rabbit, Frank, gets shot. Now what you'll notice is that what's interesting about this is, I always say that in each side of the dollar bill there's two bunny ears on each side with the leaves, okay, on each corner. So this is, again, I mean, I don't know, this is just there's too much there, isn't there? With the Donnie Darko stuff now, this connection to golf. And so this reference to this date is pretty mental now, I have to say. What's also interesting is if we look at the numbers that are coming off of the 1014 date, we have this 451. Now, obviously, Donald Trump was the 45th president, but what is kind of interesting about this 451, and we had all the fires on this date. There's also a fire in Donnie Darko as well. But if we read this in reverse, yeah, the 15th of April is our date for Notre Dame Cathedral burning. Okay, so I mean, the references to the fires now, the whole I Pet Goat thing, it's very interesting, isn't it? The 7-1 date. So I wanted to mention that this was the sort of in-between date for these two 27 numerology things here. Okay, so that I thought was extremely interesting and definitely worth mentioning. A couple of other things now, while we're on the subject of the bunny ears on the dollar bill. Well, this is going to take a bit of explaining, but let's get rid of a bit of this mess, because otherwise we won't be able to see what the hell we're doing here. So what am I getting rid of? Well, that's as far as it'll let me go. Anyway, so with the bunny ears, it forms a 2 at the top of the, on each corner of the dollar bill. Now, I'll tell you something fascinating, is that on the 13th, in a day's time, Kamala Harris, this is Kamala Harris's age in days, on the 13th of January. She will be 22,000 days old. Now, the reason why this is interesting is I've got Donald Trump's age up here on the 12th of January. Okay, on the 12th of January, Donald Trump will be 28702. If we come down here and look at our numerology with the eclipses now, on the 13th, 282702 will be the numbers that are associated with the eclipses on the 13th. So anyway, I was like, well, that's very interesting that this is, this Donald Trump number here, Donald Trump being 28,702 days old on the 12th. This is very interesting with this connection here to the following day. Okay, we've got an extra 2 in there. But I thought to myself, you know what I'll do? I'll just go and see this numerology in Donald Trump's age. We'll do the exact thing, 28, we'll just drop out the zeros, we don't want to worry about the zeros, but we'll do the 28272 and see where that puts us at. So I went back and typed in to, the date calculator, 28272, and guess what? Guess what date it came out on? Okay. It came out on November the 9th, 2023. So a 9/11 date, yeah, tying in with this 28272 day jump for Donald Trump, which then, of course, equates to the 13th of January again. Okay. So there's a 9/11 date associated with this numerology for Donald Trump. A 9/11 date joins up with 280 on the one eclipse and then 2702 days on the other eclipse. And notice we're also on 457 again, the 57, the catch-up thing, the whole catch-up connection, the Heinz 57, I don't know. So it just makes me wonder, is there something going to happen on the 13th to do with Kamala Harris maybe coming in? I don't know, maybe nothing will happen, maybe Donald Trump will just say something stupid again. But it is interesting with this 2200, the fact that on the dollar bill, Donald Trump's ear wound has part of this in it, and then the other, the 7-1, the other golf course thing has the other 2 in it. It does make me wonder, and again, when we're on this numerology, this is 113. Okay. Again, 311 man. Billy Idol stuff. 311 man. There's so many 311s. This is again another reference to 9/11, 311 in the chart of rain. Anyway, very interesting. I'm going to tell you one more thing and then we'll call it quits on this. I was thinking to myself, this numerology here with the 280 and the 2702, I was thinking to myself, well, I wonder if we did the reverse numerology, what dates we'd be looking at. And of course, I've got it penciled here so I don't forget. Here's our 272, okay, in red now instead of blue, okay. So we've basically converted this over to this now. And then what we need to do is we need to run out our blue through to 2800 days. We need to come out to 2800 down here somewhere. in the distant future. Okay, 2800 days, I've got it written here, takes us to Queenie's birthday, 421. Again, this is super tied to 9/11. Okay, and Donald Trump is super tied to this date as well through the 2 Pluto cycles. The Queen's one, if you go from 1776, okay, 7/4, and do your 248 year Pluto cycle out, that takes you to Donald Trump's birthday, okay, this last year, just gone. And if you do the Queen's, if you do the other cycle, which I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, for Pluto, I've got it in a video from about just a little over a year ago now. But if you do the other Pluto cycle, it brings you out the Queen's birthday, and I think it was 2023. I think it was a year before. Yeah, I'm thinking it was 2023. So she was already dead, but this is what's in. This is this is just absolutely mental with all the connections with Donald Trump, the Queen, and 9/11. Okay, but anyway, what was interesting about this is that, so if we go from 1/5 now through to 421, it's 106 days. And 106 days, 53 days, either way, the midpoint for this, at least what I came up with, was that 227, the 27th of February. That was just adding on 53 and then minusing 53. It came out at 227. I hope that's right. Sometimes I do those midpoint jumps and it just doesn't seem like it. Could be a day off or something, depending on the way you count the days. But anyway, regardless of that, that's the date. That's the number that came up. Anyway, 227. Funnily enough, on the 20th, Kamala Harris will be 22,007 days old. The day that Don is going to be reinstated as president. Reinstated. So, man, I don't, that's just interesting, isn't it? I think I'm going to leave it there. If you could keep up with that, you were doing well. I think the main takeaway for this is really that the fact that we're in a point right now where the numerology for the sort of 2 big eclipses is lining up right now with the 27s, okay, and then the other takeaway from that is that this midpoint is kind of in the dollar bill, and to me definitely connects to Donald Trump, with the golf course shot. So I mean, it's just, boy, I don't know what else to say about it. This is kind of hot right now. I mean, we could look at one more date, which would be, what date this 274 here. We could look at the 274 down here as a corresponding date as well, which would be the 15th. So that's another day to look at for, and again, the numerology 115. Remember the 5th of November. I mean, I'm going to leave it there because otherwise it'd just be wiffly waffly. But like I said, I think the problem I've got right now is I've got stuff reduced down, and there's there's tons of connections. So it almost becomes more difficult. I think it's more difficult to pinpoint things now because everything is so much more interconnected. I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll just leave it there for now. Boy, I tell you what, it's definitely interesting though the next several days. If I spot something else, I'll let you know. But anyway, thanks for watching. All right, cheers, bye.